Hello, music fans. I'm making another top 10 albums of 2022 for specific genres, and this video's for rock, just general rock, not really progressive, not punk, and not metal. But in this list, I include rock, hard rock, pop rock, funk rock, indie rock, alternative rock, and folk rock. And only one of these made my top 50 albums of the year, as that list was mostly dominated by progressive metal, progressive rock, post-hardcore, punk rock, metal, that kind of stuff. But there are some good just general rock albums, so I wanted to call those out as well. Starting off with number 10, which was Steve Vai with Inviolate. And this is just instrumental hard rock. There's a little bit of metal and progressive influences in there, and it's his 10th album, and it's just typical guitar wizardry from Steve Vai. Number 9, I've got Virgilio, Morse, and Jennings with Troika. And this is their debut album. They're kind of a super group. It's a lot of catchy songs with triple vocal harmonies, mostly a singer-songwriter, acoustic, folky, classic rock sound. There's some hints of prog too from time to time, but not enough to call it progressive rock. Nick Virgilio's the drummer. He's from Big Big Train. He does percussion and sings on this album. Neil Morse is a multi-instrumentalist and vocalist from Transatlantic and the Neil Morse Band. He plays guitar and sings on this album. And Ross Jennings is the vocalist of Haken and also plays guitar and sings on this album. At number 8, I've got Ghost with their album Impera. This is hard rock. There's some heavy metal, doom metal, as well as pop, prog, and psychedelic influences. It's their 5th album. It's just really fun and catchy, poppy hard rock with some metal and some of their typical satanic imagery and lyrics. Number 6, I've got Lights with her album Pep. It's her 5th album. This is pop rock. It's barely rock. I kind of just wanted to throw it on here. It's pretty much just straight up pop album, or the closest to pop that I have on this list, but there's some rock and indie edges to it, so I can kind of call it pop rock. I love all her albums. Her melodies are catchy, memorable, and the songwriting, while it's simple, is just fun and great. What do I have left here? I am at number 7, I think. Alt J with The Dream. This is indie rock. It's their 4th album, and I feel like their last album, Relaxer, was a bit of dip in quality for them after their first 2, but this one gets them right back on track, and they have really distinct vocals that are instantly recognizable. Number 5, I guess that last one was number 6. Number 5, we got Red Hot Chili Peppers with Return of the Dream Canteen. This is funk rock with alternative rock influences. It's their 13th album, their 2nd one this year, and their 2nd after the return of their legendary guitarist John Frusciante. I didn't really like their first album from earlier this year. I wasn't blown away. It was okay, but it didn't really touch their earlier, greater works from the 90s and 2000s. However, their 2nd album this year was a lot better than the first one. First one was called Unlimited Love. The single from the 2nd one, Eddie, was one of the best songs they've released in a while. When I heard it, I love the guitar solo at the end. Although I'm not even sure if that's the best song on this Return of the Dream Canteen album. While this album isn't their best, I think it might be in the top 5 Red Hot Chili Peppers albums for me after Stadium Arcadium, Californication, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, and By the Way. At number 4, I have Muse with Will of the People. This is pop rock with metal, symphonic, alternative, and some prog influences. Most of the songs are really catchy pop rock with solid hooks and Matt Bellamy's typical vocal sound, and it's really cool to hear them play some electric guitar solos in these pop songs. You don't hear that in pop very often these days. There are a couple songs on here with some metal influence, and these are my favorite tracks on the album. Won't Stand Down is one of them, and then the other one is Kill or Be Killed, which is probably my favorite. The first track, Will of the People, reminded me of Marilyn Manson's The Beautiful People a bit, even though it's a bit more pop than metal. Is more of that rhythmic aspect and how the phrase ends with the word people and has the same number of syllables. The album sounds like if Queen and ABBA combined with Van Halen and the occasional groovy metal breakdown, leaning almost towards Lamb of God, but not quite that far. And of course, there's no screaming here, so it's pretty accessible. And number 3, I've got the Mars Volta with their self-titled album. And this is pop rock. It's their 7th album. It's way more accessible than their previous works. Just very catchy. Their previous works are more progressive, but this one I wouldn't really say is that much. A little bit, but not really. Still has a lot of cool composition though, guitar and drum parts and cool production. I personally wish it sounded more like their first album, Deloused in the Comatorium, or like Bedlam and Goliath, but I think those days are behind us. I applaud them for not ever wanting to make the same sounding album twice, and I saw them live and they were great on this tour. Number 2, I've got Alter Bridge with Pawns and Kings. This is hard rock with heavy metal, alternative, grunge, and progressive influences. It's their 7th album, and Miles Kennedy is just a legendary hard rock vocalist. He also played in Slash's backing band. Mark Tremonti is just a legendary guitarist. He played in Creed. Together with their bandmates, they just make great hard rock music. It's melodic and epic. There's nothing too offensive sounding on here, so it's quite accessible and ready for radio. No screaming or anything like that, but some of it is a bit progressive at time. Like they changed time signatures between 7/8 and 4/4, other things like that. There's some interesting composition for music fans as well. It's not just straightforward, boring pop rock. And number 1, I have He Is Legend with Endless Hallway. This is hard rock with some metal, hardcore, alternative, psychedelic, sludge, southern, and prog influences. It's their 7th album, and I just love everything they've done throughout their career. He Is Legend is a highly underrated band. They deserve to be more popular. Their sounds evolved quite a bit, starting out as post-hardcore, then to metalcore. Then they moved into their hard rock stage that they're in now, but it's got a lot of heavy metal, progressive, experimental, stoner influences in there. If you put all those styles in a mixing pot and add some gent riffing, you have the new He Is Legend sound. They have good tempo and dynamic changes throughout the album. The vocals are great, mostly catchy melodic singing, but the occasional intense scream. I think people who aren't even into screaming could like this album, as they are used sparingly. The chugging guitars just make me groove and bang my head. But they also have nice ambient leads and textures in their songs. I just think they're one of the most consistently solid bands out there, and I think everyone should check them out. Riffs and melodies and grooves are great. And that's it for my top 10 general rock albums of 2022. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for, I might do black metal and death metal next. I've already done one of these for post-hardcore punk and hardcore punk, and then I've done one for metalcore / deathcore / mathcore. So if you like those genres, check out those videos, or just check out my top 50 albums of the year if you just want to see a mix of all the genres that I'm into. Until next time, peace out.